righty. Good morning.
Good morning.
Janice.
Hi, Katie.
All right. Happy Wednesday.
Yes.
Happy Wednesday to you guys.
Happy Green Wednesday.
I know, right? We both we
Yes.
didn't even call each other before
memo.
we got dressed.
No.
We just like Olive. Yes.
We are on our 25th broadcast.
Are you kidding,
Yeah,
Grace?
this is the 25th.
Oh,
I think
my
including the
gosh.
ones from
From like our
Like
other
our
little
Friday
live things.
ones or-
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is our
25.
25th.
Where was I for the first 20?
Right? Where were you? Well, we are going
Yeah.
live. It's Kate Richburg and Janice Parsons on our 25th
Yes.
broadcast
Yes.
from beadshop.com.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
We have the lovely Grace doing our camera work as
Right.
always. She's our fantastic graphic designer. So it's the terrific trio again
Right.
this morning.
On a rainy day
On a rainy
in
day.
Redwood City,
Yeah.
California.
So it may look a little darker. We've got some lights and stuff around us. So usually we have our great California sunshine helping us a little bit with these broadcasts because we do them next to the big window in our office.
Right.
So we're a little darker, but hopefully you guys will be able to see everything. So that's great.
And I heard I need to be louder. Is that true? I need
Yes,
to talk loud.
we have
Hello.
heard. Yes, we have heard that we haven't projected. You know, as that's very good.
Thank you.
My theater teacher back at Gavilan College in Gilroy, California, when I trod the boards, she would always say, "Katie, get your voice to the back of the theater." So that's how I learned. So
Okay.
Marilyn, that one's for you.
Okay.
We'll get
All
our
right.
voice to the back of the theater.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
We've
Question,
got so
Gracie?
many hellos. We've
Hello.
got hellos from Kate's mom, Gwen.
Hi, Gwen.
Hi, Gwenda.
We have Krista who says hello and that she loves your necklace.
Oh, thanks,
Oh.
Krista.
Sylvia from Switzerland. Good morning from Southern Oregon. Also, it's dark, windy, and rainy there. And we've
Oh.
got Nancy from Bend, Oregon.
Oh, hello
Linda
to Bend,
from
Oregon.
Colorado.
Oh my gosh,
Louise,
hello.
good morning. Melanie, hi from Canada. We've got hellos from Gita in Denmark,
Hello,
North
Gita.
Carolina, and Colorado.
Oh my gosh. Well, good morning,
Wow.
afternoon, and evening
Yes.
to everyone.
Yes.
It's great to have you,
Yes.
as we like to say, our worldwide beading community.
Yes.
And speaking of beading community, Janice, I have some notes here from you guys have been busy emailers, which has been awesome. So we've got a couple of questions that we're going to tackle. But first, we wanted to give a quick shout out to Beverly in California. Beverly, we got your photo. She's been feeling a little under the weather,
Oh.
and she sent an amazing Odyssey project
Oh.
for us. So I encouraged her to send it into Beater Showcase.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
real quick, Janice, Beater Showcase was kind of your brainchild,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And, talk a few words about Beater Showcase so people know what we're referring to when we talk about it.
Well, it was something I think we started about 3 years ago. We would get some emails with, once in a while, someone would say, "Oh, I made this from one of your projects," and then we started thinking about, well, wouldn't it be fun to post them?
Yeah, to
and
feature them.
To feature them, and so it has just really taken off. We get entries from all over, and we try to post them, and the guidelines are all on the website. So if you go to the homepage, there's that
Beater
picture right up
Showcase.
there below Facebook that says Beater Showcase. We highlight the beater for a couple of weeks usually, and then it lives on the Beater Showcase page with the information we've gotten, what the inspiration was. And then if they have a Facebook page or an
A
Etsy store
website
or
or-
website, then we like to link to them. So it's just been another way for us to connect
Yeah,
with
to feature
everyone
you
out
guys,
there.
yeah.
So if you've got something you've designed and you want to share it, and it's from one of our projects, and I think it's 50% of the materials should
Yeah,
come from
all of the
our
guidelines
website.
are on there.
We'd love to, we're always looking for more entries to
Yeah,
Beater
Beater
Showcase.
Showcase. So those of you who have made projects along with us here on Facebook Live or any of our projects from our website, go to the Beater Showcase page. You'll have a little survey or whatever to fill out about your piece. And who knows, you may get featured on our Beater Showcase
And then if
page.
they're really true to the project, we will often post them on the project
On the
page.
project
So
page.
if you see someone's name with a project sample on one of our projects, it's more than likely from Beater Showcase.
Question, Gracie?
So you've answered Cindy's question as how to submit the photos to Beater Showcase, which is to go to our Facebook page. I'm sorry, our beater showcase page. But can we? And Geeta has posted the link.
Thank you, Geeta. As always, quick on the button.
But we don't post exact replicas. Like if we were to like have an exact replica of our olive branch, right? Just to clarify. So
Yes.
it couldn't
Yeah.
be exactly what we've done. You
Right,
have to
it's
be
your own
inspired.
riff.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Great. Thanks for that clarification, Grace.
Right. We want to encourage everyone out there to find inspiration from our projects and also from the entries of Beater Showcase, but we're not promoting copying.
Yeah. We want you to
We
find
know
inspiration.
everyone's can do it in their own voice. No one can do something exactly
Right.
like somebody else. So that's the idea.
Yeah.
So come up with your own twist on it and then send it in to info@beatshop.com.
Yep, and we'll be so stoked to see them.
Exactly.
So Beverly, we're glad that Odyssey helped you get through your under the weather period,
know.
and thank you so much for sending it in. It looked great. And then we had an email from Kathy, which was a cool email. She did the herringbone right along with us, and she said she had some really good notes on it. So she said, "Hi, ladies. I had no trouble with the herringbone part thanks to clear, concise instructions in your Facebook Live demo. A few notes on this. I ended up having to tear out the Tyla and 4mm sections to resize the bracelet, but that's okay. What she said was the instructions said for a 6-inch wrist, etc., etc. It was too big for her, so she made each section 6.5 inches, and it's perfect."
Right.
So she also said that the Hana, she had a little trouble with the Hana.
Hana thread.
What she did was she ordered some of the micro Ceylon, and she's going to test that out to see how it works for her. And she also says she's very happy to have found us. She loves our Facebook Live demos. And she sent us a great photo, and her request is she wants to see more looming projects. And don't worry, we have more looming on the horizon for
Yes.
sure. So thanks for that, those little tips. That's great. And Kathy, if you're watching, and I'm going to email you back, after this, we want to know how that Ceylon works for you.
Right.
We'd
the
love
micro.
to know. Mm-hmm.
Everyone has a personal favorite. Lauren Hartman, who actually designed the project,
Mm-hmm.
she really prefers Nymo, which is Super Lundi. We sell it in a multi-pack tube,
colors. Mm-hmm.
but we don't sell the individual spools. My preference is because I find the Nymo acts like gorilla hair and gets all thready, especially in laddering. But that's what Lauren likes. Then some people like the KO.
I've been working a lot with KO lately. I like it.
So KO has a little less sheen than the Hana, but they're from the same factory. So
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just different quantities, different colors, but everyone has their own preference.
Kathy
yep.
says thank you for reading her email
Oh,
and that she
yay.
loves your necklace.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. Well, I'm going to email you back after this with so we can correspond about this. But
Right.
we really, really appreciate it. And if you want to go ahead, you could always post that picture right on our Facebook Live page so everybody could see it. It would be really cool. Then the last thing we got from Debbie, and I'm going to make this one kind of quick so we can get started, but it does have to do with wire. So Debbie has a briolette, and she did a briolette, and you guys know a briolette's just like a little drop earring that has a little hole going through the top. We're going to be doing some briolette wrapping on a later broadcast. But the briolette, she was having trouble with not the briolette breaking, but the wire loop breaking, because as you guys may know, briolettes have such a small hole. So if this is my briolette and it's semi-precious, this hole that goes through them is pretty narrow. So one of the tips, oh, look at that, how I've got ink now all over me. I'm going to trade that with
I'll
you,
go get
thank you.
some paper.
A little tip that I'm going to share with you is on how to wire wrap and make a doubled loop with your thin gauge wire, and so that will take care of thin gauge wire loops breaking. So thanks for sending that one in,
Could I
Debbie.
just make a
Yeah.
little advice on that to Debbie, is that the other reason the wire breaks is I have found that when I'm forming the wire around my plier, around my round nose plier, if I hold the wire too tightly,
Right.
and while I'm wrapping, and it looks like a perfect loop. And then I take my plier out and I'll look at it and I'll see that the wire is cut, like the 26 or the 28 gauge.
So you
The
had a death
pressure-
grip on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the death grip
Mhm.
is bad for that.
Mhm.
You'll just make a
Break the wire.
you'll
every
break
time.
it right in half.
Well, that's one of the things to lead into kind of what we're doing today, and
What
with
are we
wire.
doing today?
We're doing earrings today,
Oh, I love
Janice. I
earrings.
love earrings too.
I don't have any on, but
Oh,
I
well.
will put a pair on. I will put a
You
pair.
can put a pair right from here on.
I'll wait until
Yes.
we're halfway through, and then we'll put some in.
We'll put
Maybe
some
the
in.
butterflies.
So, you guys, we have been earring crazy here at beadshop.com. We've got a whole new bunch of great products, findings, caps, beads, everything that work for earrings. Now, I love to string necklaces, as evidenced by this new piece that I'll say. I'll just make a note that this is something that's going to be a class, I think, for me this
Yeah.
fall. So that's what I was playing with. But earrings, for me, are my go-to piece of jewelry.
Yeah.
I always wear them. And I think, like, when you want to create a piece of jewelry, earrings are a great thing that you can just run to your design table, make a pair of earrings, and then you're good to go. I mean, I've been known to make a pair of earrings just before I have to go out to,
Me too,
match,
for all
right?
those dates.
Right?
I, have.
All
I
those
need
dates.
earrings.
You do. You have
Multiple dates. and-
thousands of
Oh.
earrings.
Oh.
Janice.
oh, Katie.
Oh, JP. So Janice and I got together, and we got together with the staff, and we're like, we are gonna get some new earring stuff. So why don't, Janice, you jump in and talk a little bit about some of the new stuff that we've gotten
Okay.
in.
Well, working on earrings is a bit different than working on wrap bracelets, working on necklaces. It's component heavy, it's wire heavy, and you need like special beads. You know, you don't need a lot of beads. So we got in to start out. We got in larger 10mm beads.
I'm gonna make a little path here, Grace. So you tell me.
I really love semi-precious in earrings. I love stones.
There we go.
I love like a 10 or a 12mm stone bead or a crystal bead. But the whole point of an earring is that you have a little short amount of time to tell your whole story.
To say a lot, right?
And so you don't need a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but what you want to use, you want it to be special. And so we've gotten in, we think are some really unusual ear wires, some different kinds of pins.
I'm gonna take this one out and put this one
yeah.
in.
Can I show this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you do it.
Here.
One of the things that where do you want it to be, Grace? Do you want
Right
it
there
down?
is fine.
Down is good.
Okay, want me to hold it for you?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
you got it? Okay.
One of the things with a lot of these findings, and Janice saying about, everything is, make everything super special. This was a great ear wire. This is the one we call Warrior, this wire. And we were a little unsure about when we first got it in.
know.
We were like, well, is it too much? Is it too big? But something like a Say Something ear wire like this matched the one that I'm wearing, and I'll put this one right down next to it. Can you see that okay, Gracie? These are those 10mm beads that Janice was talking about. So we paired it with a 10mm bead and just that simple little bamboo cap. You want me to hold it up?
Perfect.
Just like that?
You just don't need much, and it tells the whole story. And these are the kind of earrings that I think you could wear either going out or just every day. And the nice thing about earrings is, and we could maybe talk about that a little bit, this a little bit, is it frames your face. It
Right.
tells the story, so that if and I think you need to work with your face. I think you need to work with where your chin line is. Some people can wear like a long drapey earring.
Something like this.
I put on that and I look ridiculous. You look great.
Well,
I
earrings are my gig.
I am sorry. I can't believe I forgot my earrings today, but I'm like Leslie Stahl. If you've watched 60 Minutes, and she wears these button earrings with a little drop.
Mm-hmm.
And that because of I'm just self-conscious about my earlobe. I like to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't anyone look at my earlobes now.
Let's zoom in on those earlobes. But something like this. So
This I
Janice
would wear.
found this. It's super special, this copper and sterling piece. So those of you who don't like to have your earlobes, oh yeah, it looks amazing. It's so pretty.
Oh, let's
Right?
Yeah,
Looks
I
great.
could wear this.
Yeah, you
That's
could.
really
There, yeah, it's good.
Good
right?
times.
Good times. Good earring. Good design.
Well,
But
you did this.
I did. What?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, you
Really
did
good
all
design.
of these.
Pretty soon we're going to just have like all the earrings. I'm going to change my earrings out too. We're just going to keep changing earrings. But something like this I think is really great. And you don't see a lot of these earring tops like this around.
No,
So we've got
no.
a few new ones.
And we're
They're
getting more
hammered.
because I like like I say, I like the Leslie Stahl look. So we're going to be getting more of them in the buttons and also clip-ons. Is someone out there asking for clip-ons yet?
Yeah.
Not yet,
a lot
but
of
it's gonna
people are
happen.
Saying, take my money now.
Oh,
We wanna have
oh,
this."
right. So you can find, as always, under our components section. If you go to components, it's all laid out there. Ear wires, head pins,
Also,
all of
just
that is
in
there.
is it
And in our just
in our
ins.
just in.
So, kind of piggybacking on what Janice said about earring design, thinking about your face shape, thinking about the length. You also, I think, one of the things back in the day when we used to teach this class, so earring design was a big class that we taught at beadshop.com. It was really popular. One of the things that I talked about a lot, and I'm just going to do a little drawing just like I did in class, is, and then I'll turn it around, Grace, so you can see it, but think about not only the shape of the beads that you would do in a simple earring, like a bicone and a round. So not only think about the shape of what the beads make, but think about the negative space and the negative space that the beads create. Because like Janice said, we have a limited amount of space to tell a story. So if I were doing like just say, round beads here, and maybe there's a little loop and another round bead and another loop and another round bead and another loop, and then maybe there's your ear wire. Think about, that's when what comes into play are little spacer beads, little round beads, to add like a little comma or a little pause in your design. So not only do you need larger, beautiful beads like this that are say something beads, but small little spacer beads like these hishi, like shadows. I used liberally in the designs that I did these 8mm seed beads. I was actually having a little bit of a design block when we were doing these last week, and I had made these, and this table was a complete mess
I
with
wish we had taken a picture of
everything.
it.
Yeah, we should have. And I was kind of flailing around, and Janice, before she left, she said, "Oh, I made an earring for you. Take a look at it." And this was the earring that she made. And let me get that real close. And it reminded me, oh my gosh, earrings need movement, they need spacers, and so this was the little fire
Oh, good.
that lit, and I went, oh right, I know how to make earrings. I remember that. So this particular earring here, it's created out of 3 different components. Some of our filigree components, and again, that same, and Grace, I really want, can you see the
facets?
little facets and those 8mm beads, how something like this versus, let me just get one of those
8-aught beads, right?
tight. 8-aught, yeah. Whoops.
That's the one
And
with
that's
the big
why,
hole.
that's the one with the big hole. Let me put a little.
So while
little
you're
hishi.
putting that on there, I just want to say that if you look at the different stone colors that we did get in, there's something that maybe people will notice or not notice, is that they're almost all in eye colors. So we're missing a chocolate brown, which is what I need, but this works well with me. But if you include in your earring, especially if you're making a gift, and you use the person's eye color in the earring, they will be worn forever.
Right.
Forever. They love it just works with your face
Yeah.
when you pick up your eye color.
Oh, that's great.
It's just magic.
And that's something that we call when we do our color class. We call that finding your neutral.
right,
Right.
right.
That's something that we
right,
used
your
to.
eye color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Can I just show really quick? So
Yeah.
we're just alerting
Yeah.
the public that we're
So you can see how this one, or do you want me to hold it, Grace, or can you see it okay? Like this, maybe? So see how with just the little faceted Dumertite, how it looks, you know, with spacer and without. Little tiny spacers really act, I think, as the little, you know, parentheses or the little commas or the little pauses in the design. So, you know,
Well, we used to talk about the little spacer beads being like the space in a sentence. Like if you put all the letters together, you can't read the words. The little beads, the A dots, the he, she, they act as the
pause.
the pause, and even the wire break acts as a pause, so that the eye has a chance to like absorb one thing at a time. Yeah, it's a really easy, and it's easy to for everyone to do. You don't have to be a super duper designer to just go, okay, I need 2 or 3 elements in an earring and break it up a little bit,
Yeah.
and boom, you've
It's
got
a great place to start.
Yeah, exactly.
So chain is something that we do with earrings. You can see I'm wearing a heavy chain. We use chain in a lot of our earring designs. And way back in the day, probably 20 years ago, I learned how to cut chain with Janice's no-fail
Little-
chain cut method.
Okay.
And you're going to show them that now.
Yes.
And then after Janice does that, we're going to get into some more earring designing. But I think this is...
Do
what
we
would you
have
like?
an earring that's got some chain on it?
Well,
This
I have
one?
this
Okay,
one
so
really
you-
illustrates
this-
it
okay.
large.
So this one is actually a really great chain. This is called Cowgirl.
I also have
but
this
that's
one
another
for you.
one. But let's say you're making either a tassel, or you're making something where you need more than one piece of chain the same length. So this is like the easy way to do it. You put it on a head pin or a piece of wire. You decide where you want to cut. So there's no link counting. You don't count links.
You
doing
just do
this
it
method.
visually.
You just let gravity tell you where to cut, and then you cut. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can cut if you're you're making a bib, or you've got like a chandelier, and you can just I could keep cutting forever,
And so you can
and
make
that's
them
all you do.
yeah,
You
all
just
the same length.
and that's how you get
And especially with fine link, really
really
chain
tiny
that's tiny,
chain
it's really impossible
to count.
to count
Yeah.
links. But if you have it on a nice heavy gauge head pin,
Yeah.
you can just let them hang and cut it along like you're cutting your
Yeah.
bangs, or like I'm cutting my
Yeah.
bangs in the mirror.
Yeah. Exactly.
Usually, I'm pretty straight.
Yeah. I would need one of those. What are those things? The thing to get it in the middle with bangs. What's the thing? The leveler. I need
Oh, a level, a
I
level,
go
right?
like
I should do
this.
that. My mom, she would do. I've had this haircut since I was like 2, since I had hair. And my mom, literally, she would put, tape or a bowl
A
or
bowl,
something right
yeah.
on top, and she'd just
Yeah.
hack those bangs
Well,
right
you're
off.
doing a great job.
Wow,
So
Krista
this
says-
is just an easy trick.
She
Yeah.
says mind blown, and she says,
Oh.
and then
Oh.
Lynn says she loves this tip. It's so easy.
Yeah, it's really a great one. And
Yeah.
the other thing that I wanted to mention while we're on this cowgirl chain, you can see the length. The way that I approach when I'm using chain is I think about like the different designs in the chain and how the chain, whether the link is facing forward or facing to the side. So see here, when I hold up this earring, see how the first link of the chain, you guys, is facing you? So I cut the link above it, so this is the link I'm using to put my ear wire in. Had I used this link to put my ear wire in, the earring would have laid to the side. Does that make sense? So when you're using chain, the link that you're attaching into your ear wire has to be facing you, not facing the side. Okay? And so usually with links like this, there's usually, an extra link that you can cut away, so I could use that whole section there, or this whole section there. I'd cut this link, and that's
Could
the
you
link I would use.
also reposition
I could,
the
and
loop
yeah,
on
the loop,
wi-
and
ear
I was going to
wire?
show how to
Okay.
do that as well. But you could also very carefully reposition your ear wire loop. The other one, the one that Janice is wearing, I used this 2 lanterns chain, And the 2 lanterns has like these little
Oh,
lanterns on it.
you just used the little.
I did. I used the
little
bottom as a dangle.
Duhigster.
And see what I did? I cut the loop off the bottom and just made it into a dangle.
Yeah.
It
really
was
clever.
really easy
Very
and fun.
clever.
So this is also great. Talking about negative space and negative shape. This is a beautiful one. You
love
could just
that
use
chain.
length of this chain, wire wrap a little bead on the bottom, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And so
And
I
you're
think
done.
that's what we're going to start with. So Grace, I'm going to move on over, and we'll get to some demoing.
Okay.
What do you need?
I'm just going to walk on over. I need my coffee. That's what I need. Questions so
What was
far,
the
you
chain
guys?
called? What was the
What's
chain
that?
called again?
This one was called Cowgirl.
And this one that I have over here, this is the 2 lanterns. And this one is at first glance.
So while you're doing that, I'm just going to show how if you have a bead with a big hole, and just while you're getting position.
Perfect.
So we were looking at these Demorotite beads, and there are more and more stones coming with large holes because people want to string them onto leather. And if you put it on a regular, well, that's an eye pin, and even that, it's not really great. And then it wobbles all around. So Kate is going to show you when she gets going what to do when you want to design with these. But if you put, and I bet most of you out there have like little round 3 or 4 millimeter beads. This is an A-dot metal seed bead. But if you put that on first, or even like a bicone, a Swarovski bicone, that when you put the bead, the little bead on the large hole, and then you even put another one on top, that not only does the large hole bead not wiggle, but then it also stops it from going off the end of the head pin. So that's
So
just
they act like
another
little stoppers.
Yeah.
They're really
bookends,
nice.
and they just, but you can't use like a Delica, which is a tube with a flat. It has to
have
be
a curve.
rounded so it can hug inside the bead. Okay,
Great.
my little trick is done.
I love it.
Okay.
I love that little trick.
I don't know if it's my trick.
Well, it's your trick. May I have the wire cutters there, Jean?
but yeah, sure. Here you go.
Please. Okay, so let's start off, you guys, by, I'm going to use that little trick of Janice's, and I'll slide that on my wire, and I'm just going to go ahead, I want to use the loop. So, and I'm actually going to, I need to make some decisions. Nope, it's okay. Can you see me okay, Grace? On this chain, I actually want to end and start with a loop with a small and a small lantern, so I'm going to clip this little lantern away up here. I'm using my Xuron cutters to just clip nice and tight, cover it with my thumb to make sure it doesn't fly up into my face. And now you can see, let me go ahead and line this back up on my chain. So you can see here, that little extra bit there, I'm just going to clip that away. There we go. We're on chain now. So you can see with that little trick of Janice's, that might be a little bit easier, Grace, or that way. You can see I have a small lantern, and then it's all set to go and ready there. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'll cut a couple of those. Then, next, if I am designing an earring, and I'm thinking about, you know, what beads to use, maybe what caps to use. Yeah, we've got some, oh, I've got them right here. What caps to use. There we go. Sorry about that, you guys. We dropped out a little bit. Or a color. What I'll do is I'll grab all my little, and I'll have that. Those as well. My little do-hixters, my little spacers. And what I'll do is I'll build 2 earrings at a time. What I mean by that is, let's say I want to use this bead, and I go, well, do I want a cap? And I put a cap on it, and I go, well, that looks all right, but maybe the color isn't right. So I'll go and I'll say, maybe I want something lighter. Maybe I want something with a smaller cap. And I'll build it this way, and I'll look at it and go, okay, well, maybe not. And then maybe I'll get another bead and say, maybe I like that red aventurine. Aventurine and I are having a moment lately. But maybe I want, instead of a cap, maybe I want a little bunch of spacers instead. So then I'll hold these up. And so instead of making a bunch of, making one, taking the beads off, making another one, and trying to remember how it looked, I just build several options. And then I can look at them and decide what it is that I like. And I can also, if I'm going to have it with this chain, maybe I'll hold it next to the chain and see what I like there.
I think that's such a great idea because I will just use one head pin, put it on, take it off.
Right.
And then I don't remember the iterations from 10
From
seconds
before.
ago.
Yeah.
I think it's just
Yeah.
I never thought of that. All
Yeah.
these,
Oh, it was a
No.
staple. Maybe you should have
Yeah.
taken my class
I
back in the
should've-
bead shop
I
days.
should've. Yes, yes.
So what I will do, just like Janice was saying earlier, can you see down there, you guys, that little hole in the cap? It's a little big, so I am going to use, I'm wild about these 8mm metal seed beads.
I mean the 8/0.
The 8/0, I'm
8/0,
sorry, I
yeah.
keep saying 8mm, but it's an 8/0 seed bead. It just makes everything sit perfectly. So I'm going to use this, and it's a little bit of a mixed metal. This is a brass, and I'm mixing it with copper, but I'm a rebel that way. So we have some basic handouts for you guys that are listed on the Facebook Live landing page for this episode that we're doing. So I have handouts for everything I'm showing you, but just bear with me. I'm going to try and go at a pace where you guys can keep up here. So I've put everything on my head pin. This head pin is a 20 gauge head pin. Usually with these large semi-precious rounds, the holes are pretty big, so it accommodates this 20 gauge head pin pretty well. Now, if I'm just going to make a simple loop, not a wire wrap loop, but a regular loop, like is on this little guy right here, right? No wire wraps. What I want to do first is I want to bend that head pin at a right angle. Can you see that? That bend, that's what we call like the sacred bend. Do not try and get that bend straightened back out of your wire. This is what starts your loop and what starts your perfectly centered loop. So I'm going to come in, and for the size of loop that I'm going to make, and I've been making hundreds of earrings, so this is kind of automatic for me. But this is about, you can see I'm going to leave here, I'm going to leave just under 1/4 inch. Maybe like 3/16, just scant under 1/4 inch. But this length that I leave is going to directly relate to the size of the loop, or the size that the loop is going to be. Okay, so I'm going to cut that away. Also holding my wire so it doesn't come up and hit me in the head. Now I've got my round nose, and you can see from an earlier project I have a little mark there on the head of my tool so that I would hit that mark every time I made my loops. The loops for this are going to be just a little bit larger, so I'm going to inch up just above where that mark is. Can you see the side view? And you can see I'm grabbing the wire all the way at the end. There's no wire sticking out beyond my round nose. This is really important, you guys, because we want that little loop to start curling immediately. That's what's going to give you your round loop. So whoops, let me grab that. I'm grabbing it a little too hard. Now watch as I loop this wire one step at a time. I hope you guys can see that okay. Oh, sorry. Thanks, Grace. One step at a time. And this little 8/0 bead's giving me a little bit of sass, but not too much. And I come right around, and you can see, I'm going to bring it in closer, you guys, to me for just a second out of frame so I can see it. But you can see I pulled that right back, and I've got a nice round loop. Let me make my second one a little bit faster. So, you can see that again. Yep, question?
Do you ever use other tools for your loops, like the one-step looping pliers?
Did you hear that heavy sigh, you guys? I'll be honest, I've always been torn between, because I love tools, and I'm a maker and I use a lot of tools. I'm going to scoot this here. But for wire working, I will tell you, can I have that wire straightener there, Janice? these are my go-to tools. I don't use a wire looper, I don't use a stepped plier, I don't use any of those things. For all of my wire wrapping and most of my wire work, a round nose, a chain, a bent chain, a good wire cutter, and a wire straightener. Those are the 5 tools that I always carry with me. Some people love that one-step looper. I don't know if you've tried it, Janice, but we were so old school with the way that we made our loops that I never found the need for it, personally.
Yeah, I've been sent samples to try, and like one side is curved, then another
is it? Yeah.
Concave, and
Right.
I'm just, it's too complicated for
Yeah.
me. I just like you.
The simplicity of a round nose.
Yeah, and then you can make it as large as you want. But if it works for somebody,
More power to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
can you just say with this round loop, which is also called a rosary loop, you couldn't do this with 26 gauge. It's not strong enough. What's the metal that you could do and that would be strong enough that you'd be confident it wouldn't come out?
That's a good question. I would do this as thin as 24 gauge.
Okay, so
Beyond that, we would wire wrap it. So up to
yeah.
24 and then 26 gauge and beyond,
Right.
we'd wrap.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we go, that side view, and I'm just going to come up and see how I turn and pull the plier back, turn, pull the plier back, turn and pull the plier back, and if I need to get my little tips in there to close that loop, there we go. And so it's nice and round. And see how that bend that I made earlier, see how it's made my loop centered over the top. If you don't have that bend, you guys, what you're going to get is a P. You're going to get a P, not a centered loop. Okay? So, then, to connect this to this chain, what I'm going to do is, this is where I love the bent chain nose pliers. It's like a little pair of fingers, so I can get right in there. Let me see if I can see where my opening is. I can get right in there, and when I lift my loop, see that? I lift it just enough with these bent chain, not out, but up, to maintain the integrity of the loop. I slide my piece of chain on, and I let gravity take the chain away. All right? I don't even touch the chain, and I come back, grab it with those little bent chain nose fingers, and push it right back in. Nice and tight. And a loop, you guys, is either closed or it's open. If a loop is almost closed, that means it's open, and your chain's going to fall out. So make sure you get that little end, and that's what bent chain are so good for. So now let's add an ear wire. These are our niobium ear wires that have a shiny copper ball to them, and I just love them. Now, Janice mentioned earlier a trick that I like to do. Let's say that we cut this chain, and the chain was a link that had a definite directional link to it.
Let's say you had a charm like this,
like
and there's
this,
a front.
right? And so I would need the loop to face the other way if it was going this way. Okay. All I do is I very carefully with my bent chain, I grab the whole loop. Can you see that? And very delicately, and you don't want to do this back and forth multiple times or else you're going to break the loop off. But you can just, you're the boss of this wire, turn it that 1/4 inch, and you can see the ear wire now has the loop in the front. I very carefully, just like I did on that little beaded unit, I open this up just enough to get my chain in there. Let gravity do its work. Let the chain fall down behind your hand. I see some hearts for that. I'm glad you guys like it. And we're going to come back in and tighten that up. Okay, so you can see in this case the loop, and it could have gone to the side too, but I just wanted to show you guys how I would do that. Okay, so that I think is a pretty good, it's a little long, so you would kind of figure out maybe I would take this down a little bit, but it's a good, what do they call those, shoulder dusters, right? earring. So that's a great way to incorporate chain. I could also do more of these little dangles, maybe with a smaller bead, and insert them along this chain to have a little more of an earring that has a few more beads up along the chain. That would also work well.
Pretty.
Virginia says, "No wonder my loops are so wonky," and she claims that as a technical term.
It is a technical term, wonky.
And we've had a few thank yous while you've been demonstrating, Kate, on thank you for the clarity, thank you for going over the gauge sizes, so that she knows when she uses these projects that it doesn't have to be step by step, that it can be, she can learn for future projects.
Oh, great. Good, good. Well, I'm going to share. Let's do now a wire wrapped piece, okay? You guys, something like, and this is really kind of big and exaggerated so you can see it, but this is that design that kind of fired me up when Janice did them. Now see this component? It's a little one of our lantern beads. Can you see how the loop at the bottom is just a rosary loop on an eye pin, and up top here is a wire wrapped portion? Now this little filigree component, and correct me if I'm wrong, Janice, but I'm kind of guessing what you were thinking here, is that if there was a wire wrap on the bottom and on the top, there'd be too much space
Yes.
between the bead and the component below it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And since these head pins are 20 gauge,
Yep.
they're real heavy, so this little loop isn't going to open.
No. No.
But it adds a lot to it, a lot to the design, and you can see we have it here and then we have it repeated down there. So the wire wrapping, not only is it a security measure, but it also adds a lot, I think, to the design of the piece. And again, we have those little 8/8 metal seed beads. So I want to show you how we do that. So, question?
No,
you.
I was trying to just remember what I did, and I did it intuitively. I didn't. I build my earrings from the bottom up,
Mhm.
and so I started with the first bead, and
Then
then
what's behind it?
then from there I
Mhm.
said, okay, I want to add it to the the filigree component, and then to the beads. So,
Mhm.
and what I liked about that earring, it's not an incredible design by any means.
Oh, I love it.
It's
I love
just
it.
that there's a flat piece, there's a round piece, and then there's a cube,
Mhm.
and
So each is making a statement.
they talk to each other. That's where your negative space works in,
Mhm.
which I think is really important with an earring. Again, you have it's a 3-word sentence. You get to say just a couple of things in one little
Mhm.
earring.
One little earring.
And if they're all round, that's okay. Like, I don't know if you want to
Oh
just
yeah,
show
like
that.
this piece.
That's all just a wire wrapped necklace that
Mhm.
I brought in. That, but again, the color of the beads makes a difference
Mhm.
in giving it more interest.
And you
But
can
those
see.
are all just wire wrapped.
And that wire wrap with this antique wire acts as a design component
Right.
in this piece. So
Right.
you could also, with just a 3 little link, that would also make a really, really nice earring
Yes.
that way.
Yeah.
3 little links.
It would.
May I have the other chain, not that circle of life, but the other one?
Here's
Yeah, this is what I
everything.
want. I
Okay.
want this one. This is the at first glance. So let me show you guys how I would do this with a wire wrap. So I have a head pin here, and I'm going to use that little spacer combo, this slice of life spacer and the 8/0 bead, because I love the way this looks, and it has the look of kind of like a bead cap, but again, that negative space that's really showing how nice and round that bead is. So we start this in a similar manner as we do to the wire wrap loop, but what we need is we need a little neck that we're going to come down and wire wrap around. Now the thing I think where people stumble with this design is, or with wire wrapping is, they grip it way too high. So you're wire wrapping the neck for days, and that's fine if that's part of your design, but if you're not, if you just want like a little 3 wrap neck like this one is, you've really got to grip it, you guys, right at the tip of that chain nose plier, okay? And with my index finger, I'm going to push the wire over the tool. And now that becomes our sacred bend, the bend that we don't want to lose, okay? So now I'm going to take this round nose plier like I did before, and I'm going to aim for that mark that I made on the head of the tool so that my loops will be consistent. And I'll hold it this way so you guys can see. I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to go up and over the plier. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to open the tool, drop the loop to the bottom jaw, and now continue to bring my loop around. Now, let's take a look at this loop real quick. See how the loop is not completely centered. What I do, this is a little tip, and people I think forget this, is that I come around and I just give it just a slight turn, a little bit, and can you see how that little slight turn or slight looping has given this little loop, that loop is sitting exactly over the center of the wire that's coming up underneath it. That little tip, you guys, will keep your wire wrap loops nice and straight and sturdy. What I also do is before I wrap it, sometimes I give it just a little hug with my chain nose pliers just to make sure it's all nice and even. Now, this is also the step, I think, where people, they're so excited that they've made this loop. What do, Janice?
They go ahead and they start wrapping without putting the chain on
That's
first.
right. So don't forget, we've seen it time and time again. Add your chain, you guys, at this point. Because if you don't, you're going to have chain and a wire wrap loop, and you're going to have to either cut it off or connect it with a jump ring. So add that loop. Now what I do is, I see a lot of laugh. Have you guys done that? I see some agreement out there. What I do is I hold that loop nice and tight in my chain nose pliers, okay? And I'm wrapping with my bent chain, or I could use my finger. But I'm going to wrap from the bottom of the loop to the top of that bead. And I'm going to wrap 180 degrees at a time. See that right under the loop. I'll reposition my plier.
Now, why do you let go,
wrap it again,
wrap it all the way around, and then pick it up?
So what I don't, if I don't, and I keep wrapping and wrapping, see what happens? My wire wraps itself around the tip of my plier, and the plier becomes a part of my earring.
Right. And you don't really get to do that with a head pin, but if you had like a 6 or 7 inch piece of wire, you'd find that the wire was wrapping around the tip of your plier. So you have to let it go and then pick it up again.
Right, as you wrap around.
Someone, Pam, she says, it's always the perfect loop, too, when you've forgotten your wire.
Yes, it is, right?
It is.
You make that perfect one, and then you're like, oh my goodness. So see, I've got 3 nice little wraps there. Now I get my wire cutter, and you guys, I wedge that wire cutter in nice and tight, as close as I can, cover my excess wire, clip it away. Now I have a tiny, tiny little piece of wire there that's sticking up. I haven't wrapped it completely closed. I've left just a tiny little space so that when I come in with my bent chain and I gently, I've got to get a little closer so I can see it. So I gently come in and just hug the wire with the tip of my chain nose, and that's going to smooth my wire in among my wire wraps. This is a pretty good wire wrap if I do say so myself. Looks pretty good. All right, now I haven't cut away my chain, so I'm going to make this a 3-linker. So I'll cut this chain right off here, and I'll use our little bronze dot ear wire. The way that opens is very gently open that up, slide that chain on.
And there's no front or back to this earring,
No.
so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Sometimes if I have a component that has a front, I put it on the ear wire, go, oh, it's backwards,
Right.
and then I just have to flip it and turn it around.
But see, that
looks
bronze
great.
ear wire and the bronze of that he-she spacer bead match nicely. I'm a big fan of mixing your metals and stuff in your designs. So there we have it. So we've got this as a loop. We've got this, or this is a wire wrap, this is a loop, and both on chain. I want to show, there's going to be one more, I want to show you one more kind of quickly, and I want to go through these just a little bit. You can see here with this eye pin, this is just a simple eye pin, and I put some of those A-dot beads right on there so it has a little bit of movement. So I use the eye pin as part of the design. Then I mixed my metals. This is a 7mm jump ring right here. So I think, again, that gives a lot of, that's a really good sample of using, again, negative space in your piece. The other one I wanted to show were these butterfly ones here. This is with 26 gauge wire, and I've intentionally made it kind of messy. I started by wrapping in the butterfly, coming up and around, and then through wrapping my loops a couple of times, and then just wrapping around down the earring. And that was getting to Debbie's question. Thank you, Janice. Getting to Debbie's question about, this is kind of like what she was talking about the briolette wire breaking earlier. What I do with that, what I would do with that briolette is, let's just say that this has come down, you know, I've wire wrapped down here. What I would do, instead of having just a single wrap and wrap underneath with such a skinny wire, I'd go around my, thank you, I'd go around the head of my tool maybe 2 or 3 times.
But you're doing it gently. You're not...
Right, I
like,
don't have a death grip on it.
Right, because you'll go right through the wire.
And then I can come in.
You make it look so easy.
Well, wire's my spirit animal, you guys, that's for sure. So see how I've got 3 little wraps there? And sometimes I even intentionally open them up if it was like a pendant or something like that. I do that. But for the grand finale for this, for these demos, I want to show you guys how I do this one. This is on our little 3-dot head pin. And can you see how this is all wire wrapped? Maybe if I bring it up, can we get that? Grace, do you think we can get that in focus? It's a little hard for you guys to see, but it's a thin gauge wire wrapped over the head pin. Thank you, Janice. And I want to show you
all
guys.
of these on the Facebook Live
They are.
with what the ingredients are if you go to the
They are.
landing.
Karen and Grace worked really hard on that landing
It's
page.
beautiful.
And all of these styles are on the landing page with the ingredients list listed. So I used, you guys, 26 gauge right here, that 26 gauge craft wire. And I'll cut about 1 foot, I guess. Craft wire is inexpensive, so I don't hold it too dear. Now I've got this, and I use this kind of coiling over wire. I use it in a lot of my designs, but I think it's really great for earrings. I'm going to hold that head pin and the end of the wire in my fingers just like this. I'm going to pull and make a right angle. And now I'm just going to wrap. And I'm not worried. My first little wraps look a little wonky. Again, technical term. But I'm not going to worry about that so much. I'm just going to get into a rhythm and get a nice wrap going. And I'm going to wrap about 5 times. And I saw a, when I glanced over there, I saw a quick question about how heavy would these earrings be. Most of these earrings, you guys, are fairly light because they have so few components to them. Even things that have the semi-precious. So you can see where my wire was a little wonky. I'm just going to come in, clip that excess wire away, and use my trusty bent chain nose. I'm going to get a little closer to me, you guys, so I can see it. There we go, and use that bent chain. Can you see that? How I just got that right in there. Now I'll slide it down. Now it's time for a bead. I'm going to use, because again, I'm having an adventuring moment. On the finished earring, this one I used, I think it was maybe it was a 6mm that I used for this. But this 10mm works just fine as well. And I'll just come in, I'll bring my wire around the bead. And I'm just going to now wrap around the head pin. Now this is kind of like magic. Watch what I do. Pardon me. See how I'm twisting the bead? See where my thumb placement is, you guys? That wire wants to be a coil. So just let it. I could, instead of that way, I could also hold it and just wrap it one below the other or one above the other. If I make a mistake, pardon me, let me get a little bit of coffee here. If I make a mistake and I've got a little bit of space there, all I do is I push that little space down. You're the boss of the wire, you guys. You're in charge. Again, this is 26 gauge wire. The head pin is probably about a 24 gauge. It's stiffened, so that's why it's really holding up to all this wrapping. Questions, Grace?
No,
Did you have? Okay. Getting
and
in
we
focus.
do have questions.
Okay.
I'll ask you guys when you guys
Okay.
finish your.
So see, I like this little holding my wire steady and just twisting this. And again, light grip, no death grip on this. You and the wire just hanging out. You're doing your thing. Wire's doing its thing. Everyone's super happy. I've got a little bit of space there, but it doesn't look too bad. Right? And you could do this with a heavier gauge. I would use the 26 gauge for this coiling, but you could do it over any gauge you wanted. 24, 22, 20.
It looks so polished.
It does, right? I don't
Really
know.
looks-
The wire gods are smiling on me today.
It looks, yeah.
And then just stop when you're done. I'm going to say I'm done. I could, if I had a smaller bead, I could put a smaller bead on and then continue wire wrapping. But what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to cut this sucker away. Being careful not to cut anything else but that wire, or else it'll all end in tears. And that little end. What ear wire shall I put on this, Janice?
I thought that little part
Yeah,
was
that
sweet.
little, isn't that a nice one? That's a nice one. And it's not closed, so I don't have to worry about wire wrapping it on there. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come in, make that wire wrap really carefully. Bend at a right angle, up and over the top, and I want a pretty delicate loop at this point, so I'm going to put it pretty close to the tip of my pliers. Up and over, down and underneath, tighten, center, and I'm just going to wrap using my fingers, 180 degrees at a time. One wrap.
And then that secures the 26 gauge wire underneath,
It
so
does.
it's not going to uncurl. And,
You can see how it meets. Yeah, it's not going to uncurl. It's nice and secure. And I could, I could make a little curly cue or something with this, but
looks great.
we're just going to clip it. Thanks, Janice.
Really looks
I'm going to
great.
clip it, and then with those little fingers, gently push that wire in. Make sure everything's straight. Again, this wire doesn't really, or this earring doesn't really have a front or a back. Well, it kind of does. I want the pin to be facing in the front, so I want to make sure that everything's lined up, but it is. So I'm just going to line it up on this ear wire, and then I'll just gently hug that closed. Look how pretty that is.
And you couldn't twist the loop on this to face a different direction.
No,
'cause this
you
is
wouldn't.
Not
Mm-mm.
a separate.
A separate,
ring. Yeah.
right, like a loop on its own. And I could, if I wanted to, I could add some chain to this. I could add a couple more little shorter dangles. But this is a great beginning to your earring design.
It's lovely.
Okay, thanks. All right.
Pam is
Phew.
saying that watching you wrap is like a Zen experience. She's like,
It
oh,
is.
beautiful.
Oh,
And Malika says it's perfect, and Melanie's inviting all three of us to Canada.
Oh, we
yes.
love Canada.
When you
Yes.
get situated, Kate,
Mhm.
we do have a few questions.
Great, and we have a couple of other things we want to share with people before we wrap things up. So,
Right.
yeah, let's do that. I'm going to put
So-
some earrings back in.
Let me find some of our earlier questions from when you were so. So So you answered the question about how heavy these earrings would be. Another question we had was, which metal do you recommend for the ear wires for people who have allergies? She's heard that you can coat the wire with nail polish, and she's asking if you recommend this.
Yeah, I have, and
Okay.
it's okay. We carry those niobium ear wires.
We do.
And niobium is an inert metal. And so most of the time when people have ear allergies, they are allergic to the nickel, usually, that's in your metal. Some people, though, like I have friends, when I make earrings for them, they can't wear anything but karat gold. But I've found that when I use the niobium ear wires, they're great. That niobium, again, an inert metal, you shouldn't have any trouble with it.
When you were making this piece here, I'm not really sure if she meant this one or if she meant this one. She asked what the green bluish bead was, so I'm not really sure which one she was talking
So
about.
that's Amazonite.
Oh wait,
This one is Amazonite. This one is actual jade. This is from our vintage finds.
So
And this is
beautiful.
aventurine. So this is going to be limited. We don't have, and they're all slightly different. So
You can see, like,
they're
this one has a
darker
little-
green, lighter green. Yeah, they're beautiful old jade beads.
And this one that I did in this piece, this is African jade.
Yeah.
What's called African jade. It's a jasper. One of the things that I didn't show this, you guys, but I wanted to mention, I also use jump rings, like little spacers. And so these guys are just jump rings that have been strung on the head pin, and they move around. So if you guys are into doing earring or doing like chainmail work or stuff like that, this is a cool way to incorporate those chainmail jump rings into an earring without having to make a huge chainmail jump ring earring.
You know, to circle back to Beater Showcase, what would be really nice would be some entries where instead of, first of all, we don't really have any earring entries, so
we'd
that
love-
would be great.
Oh,
But wouldn't it be fun if someone sends in what they did in maybe 3 different styles, the same beads?
yeah.
We'd love that.
We'd love
so
that. A
if
little
you
riff.
have earring designs you can send in, we would love that.
We would.
That would inspire all of us.
there were a few conversations going on. One was Gita had asked if you'd ever use the nylon jaw plier to straighten curly needles. Someone said that she tried that before and that it worked hard on the needle and she didn't like that, but they still want to know what your opinion on that is.
Okay.
A curly needle or a curly head pin? On a needle, like a seed
Like a-
bead needle?
No, like a flexible eye needle.
Oh, could you straighten it?
The answer is no.
It's kind
I
of
don't
got.
think so.
It's
got a
kind-
memory.
Yeah, it's. I usually, if my end of my needle is curled, I usually just cut that little bit off if it starts to bother me.
I do.
The wire straighteners are just great for straightening wire.
So, like, if I had this is my 26 gauge, and I hold the other end of the wire in my chain nose plier, not in my fingers, because my fingers aren't strong enough to grip it. But I come in and I just run the wire straightener, the nylon jaw, several times. Not only does this straighten, but it also work hardens it a little bit. So if you have really dead soft wire you're
It's actually
working
harder
with,
to see.
this way,
Not with the white behind it. I
not
can't-
with the white,
Yeah, just take
this
out.
way. Take the white out. There we go. It'll also work harden your dead soft wire and make it a little springier to work with earrings. And then with head pins, it's something I automatically do. Head pins a lot of times come in kind of a little wonky, right? So I just hold it here. Technical term. I hold it here in my chain nose. I'll get my wire straightening plier. And I'll just pass it through a couple of times, and then my pin's ready to go.
You know, years and years and years ago, before I ever knew of wire straighteners, I had an old piece of like a leather scrap, just like a tiny piece of a leather
Right.
scrap, and I used that in place of a wire straightener. So
straightener.
I'm not trying to do it with my hands, but I had something, and it does
It
work.
works,
You
yeah.
can find something at home if you don't have a wire straightener.
That's a good tip with
Yeah.
that little leather.
Yeah.
I'm going to read off the next questions so we can just go right through them.
Okay.
Someone had asked what an aught was, and Drea had answered it on the feed, but I wanted to mention it for our future viewers who aren't on Facebook, what an aught is.
Sure.
The other thing was, Virginia asks if she should get her wire cutters sharpened or should she just buy a new pair. What was the other question here? Eli says hi.
Oh.
And Kathy asks, is there a way to deal with tarnish? She's made some earrings with silver beads and she's unsure how to care for them.
Okay. So let's take the aught question first.
Okay.
So, Janice, you want to take this one?
Okay, so seed beads come in various sizes, and you can get them as small as 16 or 15, all the way up to what's common is then they can go to 2-aught. So 15 sounds like that would be the biggest. 16, that's the biggest. So actually, that's the smallest.
15
And
seed
then-
beads are tiny.
And then they go all the way down to, like, you could get a 2-aught. The aught refers to that it's a seed bead. So it's the size over an aught. And it differs from a millimeter, which it would be like an 8 millimeter versus an 8-aught, and 8 millimeter is much bigger.
Because it's the 8 millimeter length between
Right.
hole to hole.
Right.
And so the way that we see them written in the biz, you see it 8/0. That's the way 8-aught is written, and aught is spelled this way. Aught, use the word for 0.
Right.
Like when my gran would add in her head, she wouldn't say, whatever the answer was, 200. She'd go 2-aught,
Right.
because she was from the
Right.
old school.
So the aught tells us that it's a seed bead
8/0.
versus
A millimeter.
a millimeter. So
which
you
would
could
be
have,
8
and
mm.
we could talk about this when we go further into beads, but we could talk about, well, you can have a millimeter bead the same size as a seed bead, but they're going to have different numbers.
Different names, yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, there's one more question, and we're going to have to wrap it up, but Kathy asks how you hold the nylon jaws, because she says that they don't spring open. So how do you?
Yeah, so what I do, and a lot of wire workers do this, it's Kathy. Kathy, a lot of wire workers do this. They take the springs out of their pliers because they don't like them springing back. And so these wire straighteners don't have a spring. The way that I hold them just like this. So I have my index finger and my thumb holding one way, and then the rest of my hand holding it the other way. And I work it this way, so it's kind of, so it's just kind of
You're
natural
the
the way I
spring.
do it.
You're
I'm
the
the spring.
spring, yeah.
So that when I come in to straighten this out, I just open it up, and I do it this way. And so that's how that goes. And the question about your sharpening your tools. So first, let's take that back. Your wire cutters, for those of you who are like quilters out there and people who sew, and I know my mom who's watching, she's a quilter and a really accomplished seamstress. You keep your scissors and like your rotary cutters, all of that kind of stuff, you keep them kind of like in a locked box almost, right? In a drawer. They are not your household scissors or tools. It's the same way with your wire cutters
Right.
for your jewelry cutters. So number one, keep cutters like this strictly for soft wire. Copper, sterling, gold filled, the craft wire, plated craft wire, all of that stuff will be really friendly to this. What's not friendly, you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, you don't want to do sheet metal with
Right,
them?
no metal and no memory wire.
No memory wire.
No,
Yeah.
Ever. Don't
Ever.
even let these cutters say hello to the memory wire. They'll get a nick. So memory wire has special memory wire cutters, or get an old pair of wire cutters out of your household toolbox. But really keep these for jewelry. Now, if you have a nick on your heads, there's a couple of things you can do. And what I've done in my studio. If you're a metal worker and you have a file, a nice, really fine metal file, you can gently, in the direction of the head of the tool, file it down really gently. These are steel tools. You'll be able to file it down. Then I'd turn it and I'd file it again. And a lot of times that'll file the nick right out of it. If you do have a good knife sharpening guy, you can also take them to your knife sharpener. If the quality of the tool, like this is an American tool, American steel tool, so the quality of these Zerong cutters are great, so they'll be able to be honed. But if you have kind of an inexpensive $5 or $6 cutter, then you don't want to sharpen it. You want to just get a fresh one. I hope that helps.
And so to trail back to that last question that was left unanswered, which was the tarnishing beads. What do you
Pro
recommend
polish.
for that?
Pro polish pads.
Pro polish pads, 110%.
Yes.
Hey, does anybody have a pro polish
Can you
pad?
grab one?
Can
Let
we
me go grab-
Yeah, go get one. The pro polish pads, oh my gosh, you guys, not a broadcast goes by where we can't extol the virtues of these things.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, we carry them in a big and a nice package
Like that.
like this. And
Can I polish your earring?
yeah, do it.
Okay.
So these need polishing.
Okay, so I'll just do it on the back. I'll look at that with your initials and everything.
You can
So
bring it up
all
just a
we're
little
doing
closer.
is we're going to just clean off. Look at that. These are just the miracle workers.
So what a pro polish pad is, you guys, it's a little 2x2 square, and it's kind of a foam rubber.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of tooth to it and a little bit of polishing compound. These are the last steps that I use in any jewelry making. When I'm metalsmithing, I use these. But it's great if you design and sell your jewelry. It's a nice little added value when you put in a little how-to care card. You could also even cut these in half and put a little half of a pro polish or a full pro polish pad in with your jewelry that you sell. It's a nice little added
Could
value.
I have your other
You
earring
can
so
to make
we
them
can-
match.
Yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
Well, no, I
You
want to
can
show
compare.
everybody.
Oh, the compare.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
kind of
and you can
tarnishing.
use these until they're
Until they're
really
black.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can keep. This is hardly used, so this is.
Can you see them, Gracie?
Does it show that much? It's hard in this light, but it really is. It's. I would go at it a little more, but some things. I mean, I use them on my flatware. I use them on chains.
Chain,
The
they're
chain,
great.
they're just great because you can. And the difference between this and like a liquid polish or like a putty polish is that tends to dry in the crevices, and then you see it looks like dry toothpaste.
Right.
And this way, you don't worry about any inlaid stones getting wet. These are just
Yeah, they're
just
magic.
the miracle workers.
Magic.
Love them.
Love them. Love them.
Okay.
Any final questions, Grace?
Yeah, actually, we do one last question. Does the pro polish pads work on tiara cast or silver plated findings without making them look dull?
Great question.
They
So
do.
yeah, I'm gonna polish it with this one with this pro polish pad. So what happens when the heavier you are with the pro polish pad, the more shine you're gonna get. But that little bit of a tooth does have a tendency, you need to be really careful not to push too hard when you're polishing. But can you see how I'm just kind of rubbing lightly on this charm? And can you see the difference here between that side of the leaf and that side of the leaf? There is a difference. I don't know if it just shows on camera.
Would you do
Is it
this on
shinier?
vermeil though? I wouldn't do it on vermeil.
I wouldn't do it on vermeil because vermeil is such a thin coat.
Right. So for those of you out there, vermeil is anywhere from 18 to 22 karat gold plate over sterling. It's not as popular, but I'm sure some of you have some beads and some components out there. What will happen with vermeil is you'll suddenly see silver underneath. It'll just take the
Take
gold,
that gold right off.
But this will work with pewter or brass charms that are plated. It works
Just
with
don't
sterling.
dig too hard on them because you
Try
don't
on
want
the back first. Always try on the back. Just like a shoe polish or a furniture cleaner or a carpet cleaner. Try it in a little spot nobody's going to see before you just rub forever.
So I think
What are we up to now?
I think that I wanted you to share that.
Oh
before.
yes, we talked last week about this bracelet and we had some really nice new dotted leather, which in brown, which we're getting back in. But in the interim, we also got in black and a very pretty.
That
It's
green.
called forest green, but it's really kind of a teal, and then
almost
we
a
got
teal.
gray.
Yeah.
So we have some new dotted leather, and if you go to the Just In section, it's there. So
And we're going to be restocking from last
Oh,
week when
yes.
we did that leather work. A lot of you asked, "Oh my gosh, that dotted leather!
I
I
missed
wanted,
it,
I
I
missed
missed
it."
it.
We've got more
More coming,
coming, so
yeah.
you'll see that restocked
Yeah.
very soon as well. But the dotted leather is kind of
Yeah.
fantastic. So we have a little
What
special
is it?
giveaway for you guys.
no. By the way, no one tells me what these giveaways are.
We don't.
They just
we
dig
just go
in,
rogue.
dig into the trough and
We
get
do.
the goodies out.
We
And-
do.
Okay, so what's this week's?
I hope I'm not in trouble.
No, you're
All
not.
right.
You're not. You're
Because you
fine.
never know
No.
what's going to happen. It's always exciting. We've got, so you got these from our Vintage Finds vault, actually.
Oh, those
and
are
so
the hearts. The
those
puffy
are.
heart. Oh, I love those
and
hearts.
we just thought that these would make such great little earrings. So, and because we heart you guys, pardon me, we heart you guys so much, we did a little mixture of picture jasper, sodalite, and red jasper, the 3 different hearts. You get 1 pair of each. And my favorite gauge of wire, though all gauges are my favorite, I guess it's my favorite today, which is this 24 gauge. So we have a nice little kit. You can wire wrap those. You can do all kinds of, experimenting with these little hearts and your 24 gauge wire.
Do you
So,
get a whole spool?
You
of
do.
this?
You get a whole spool.
Really?
Yeah, nice, huh? Nice one.
Good one,
Yeah, I
Kate.
thought so. I was all, what are they going to want? They're going to want a spool of
Yeah,
wire.
they're gonna want some
Yeah.
wire. It's
Yeah.
great wire.
In
yeah.
my favorite
in
copper.
Your favorite
In
color.
copper.
Yeah.
So for the next hour, right now, it is 11:49 Pacific time. If you make an order, you go to the website, beadshop.com, and in the next hour until 1 p.m. Pacific time, all you need to write in your order notes is, I love hearts. And we're going to give you that little giveaway. If you're watching this later on tonight or later, I'm sorry that you missed it. It's just more impetus for you guys to watch us live, as well as sign up on our newsletters, you guys. We do other giveaways that you can find through our newsletters.
Can you remind people in their shipping notes when they place their order?
Yeah, in the shipping notes, you guys, when you place the order. So don't put it here on our Facebook Live feed because you won't get it. What you need to do is go to beadshop.com, place your order
Of any size.
of any size, and just make sure it says I love hearts in the shipping notes. And on that note, we did a flash sale today only. We put some categories on sale. And you don't need a code or anything, but if you go to the website, and our ear wires, head and eye pins, and connectors are all 10% off.
Wow.
So you
That's
can
great.
find those. So
And that's just today.
that's just today. And it's tonight at midnight Pacific
so
time.
there's no code they put in. It's just that they can buy
They're-
the ear wires.
Yeah, you'll
and
see
head
it. They're
pins.
already marked down
Okay.
on the
Okay.
website. So that's what we've got for you, you guys.
Wow.
I hope you enjoyed this kind of epic earring broadcast.
I had a lot of fun.
We did, yeah.
You did all the heavy lifting.
Well, you did that chain tip. I'm telling
Wow.
you, it's a good one.
Well, you're just a genius with wire.
Did you hear that?
It
I'm a
really,
genius with wire.
with wire.
Who knew? I knew. I knew. You are lucky.
Okay.
You are lucky. And next week we've got some great stuff coming up.
Yes. Yes.
We're gonna we have our Nicole Memorial.
We're launching that project.
launching that.
Yep.
So there's going to be more info on that coming in your newsletter. So take a look for that. But we're going to have a really cool start to that project next
Right.
week.
Right.
So we'll be back to stringing. But don't worry, you guys. This isn't the last you've seen of wire.
No.
That's for sure.
Hardly.
Yes.
Hardly.
All right.
Anyway, good times.
Good times. Good times. Thanks, you guys, so much for watching. We'll see you next Wednesday. Send in those photos. We can't wait to see what you guys come up
Right.
with. All right.
Okay.
See you later.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.